working. So we are using this service, and Dave has confirmed that they can hear online. We just need to note that they can hear all noise going on in the room. So any side conversations and stuff, it's going to blur that, unfortunately. I don't think we've got anyone online as such at the moment, so we'll bear with that. So potentially, if you want to speak, I'm going to go with raising your hand. Yeah. Because obviously there'll be no red lights coming on and off, so there's no point to fiddle with your mic at all. So on that note, I will get Chris to start us off with a Karakia. But he's totally unprepared. Oh, no, he is.
Thanks, Warren. Whakataka taho ki te uru, whakataka taho ki te tonga, ki te tina, ki te uta, ki te taratara, ki tai, e te aka ana, ki te kura, teo, e puka, e brohu, te hei, no.
Thank you, Chris. So obviously today we have two halves to the workshop. The first up is the strategic direction, and then the second part will be going through the committee, regional growth and resilience committee terms of reference and things like that. You've all had your agenda, and Brock has sent you out this morning the workshop agenda as we work through as well. So that is in your emails. I'll hand over to Karen.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Patamania councillors. Thank you very much. Here to see if we can possibly progress the strategic direction to some confidence and comfort that we can adopt sooner rather than later, because perhaps more than ever it's important that we give direction to our staff, but also signal direction of travel to our community. The draft strategic direction. Yeah.
Can I just make that? So,
Yeah.
Councillor, just if you go back to when after you got elected, when you first came in, we put up a bit of a timeline. And I said to you in the first 18 months, from my perspective, there's 4 big rocks that we need to cover with you. One was to get you to understand council's business sufficiently that we can start making decisions. The second was that we get the machinery at council up and going. And so we got that, we said, committees was on them, and you're about to all be done. We had council meetings. The third one was the strategic direction, because that's really important. That's where you set your vision for the region. But most importantly, from my perspective, it also enables us, as well as communicating where we see our council playing going forward, it enables us to work on the LTP. And so the LTPs we've got to have in place in about 16 months' time. It comes around really quickly, and this is the key direction setting we've got time for that. Sorry, Karen, that's not the fact.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get there, but well done. This is mansplaining in full flight.
I just wanted a quick question. So the previous one was 2023 to 2025.
Yeah.
This is 25 to 28, and we look at 25 to 35.
25 to 28 triennial.
Yep.
So this is for you.
It's a 10-year document.
But this is a 10-year document, and you're going to be looking at your members for your period of tenure, this triennial.
No,
Experts. So yes, this did start development back last year with some analysis of the economic and environmental and social, the political environment that we were in, that actually gave us an opportunity to see where do we need to focus attention as a regional council. And so that involved community leaders, it involved themselves, it involved subject matter experts bringing this together. And that is online now. If you want to refresh your memory what within that. But there is a summary in the document there about what opportunities were identified for the Waikato region. So the 5 draft priorities we share with you here today actually pick up on those opportunities. The strategic approaches that you discussed through your workshop on the 18th of November, when you looked at what strategic approach we want to take. Is it classic? Are we going to be doing the basics really well? Are we going to be visionary? Are we going to be pushing forward? Or are we going to be shaping it in collaboration with others? to create new alternative futures for ourselves. Each of your priorities has picked up on your direction there. So you wanted, for example, what's your visionary for science and tech? You wanted to, for most of the others, the resource management, the consenting, the council, wanted to do the basics really well. And then for the reform program, you wanted to be working with others to shape the legislative and political environment. We heard from you about a very specific direction, and that was about affordability. It's about increasing operational efficiencies, providing value for money, and leveraging the collective resources of our community. To be enabling and collaborative, to integrate decision-making across the environment, social and economic spheres, so that you as decision makers and others could make it transparent, sound decision. Focus on delivering core functions well and grounding that decision-making in robust data, but also the knowledge and experience of our stakeholders. And then to monitor the performance using good measures. So I think the draft here for discussion captures all of that direction. And so if we move on, what we really need today to help get this closer to the decision of finalising, we need a decision on the vision statement. Easy, yes, no, option 1, option 2. We want your feedback on the priorities, the outcome statements, the approaches, and the measures included. Really interested to hear from you on what you want to do about transport. So when we had workshops, we wanted it as a standalone priority. Now, looking at what we've got there in the outcomes and the measures, these are reflected, are taken from existing strategies for land transport and passenger transport. These have been agreed with your wider regional community, and they take you out to 2035. They do also align with your other priorities that we've got there: productivity, prosperity, economic peace, transport, absolutely central, or regional resilience. Absolutely central, transport to resilience. So you might want to say, no, transport is not a standalone priority, but it would be really good to take the transport outcomes and include them in those other priorities, so they're truly integrated. And then, like to finish off just by clarifying anything else you need to get the strategic direction into final shape for adoption. We could just get this sorted out. We've had conversations about it. We've given you 2 options. Lots of discussion. I'm not sure that it's more change required, but really interested. Option 1, option 2. Hands up, option 1.
Decision makers between this vision and purpose, because it seems to me they're quite similar.
Vision and purpose.
Yeah.
The vision, where are we going to be? And the purpose is how are we going to do it?
They're very similar. If you look at what the purpose is.
Yeah, it's Carolina. So we need to talk one. Sorry for those that went in. Sorry, Carolina. For those that went in the room earlier, there are no mics, so we're using the service for those online that can hear. So you will need to talk one at a time, and while people are talking, please be quiet. And that's banging around and other stuff as well, because it blurs everything out. Those online. Yeah.
I'll be after doing the business.
Okay, well,
Because I just want to talk with these options.
so could you just put up the purpose slide next, so we can see that as well?
I did put the purpose side up.
Okay.
You told me you had no change to it.
That's right. The purpose is working together for a Waikato region that has a healthy environment, vibrant communities, and strong policy. That's the doing.
Yeah.
I would go for option 2, but remove the power and equal. It's Waikato shaping and health across the place. It's working together comes to the purpose. And when we come to the next part, the values, I would delete those altogether because they're like staffing things and goes into the equal strategy and should go to the back. So I think it's a good thing.
Well,
I think they confuse it.
I could just clarify, when we had the conversation, councillors said it would be helpful to share the values with the wider organisation. We can,
It's not ended.
we can come back to that.
Okay, Verona?
Oh. I totally for your approval. I just wanted to emphasize what I feel is the difference between option 1 and 2, and it might be clear to some and might not. So shaping our place and empowering our people means that we will, in theory, I think we will determine what it might look like and give our people the tools to work in that world. The second one is taking our people along with us in the first instance, giving them the power to be able to look at what they want to do, as well as we walk along with them and give them that power. Hence why I think there's a big difference between 1 and 2, is that we're allowing the people to shape their own life, but we are going to give them the tools to do that. So I like option 2 more if we're going to look at what the community wants, for that difference reason.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, look, I just want to go back to the purpose of one night. I think it should be more aspirational. The word strong is good. I want to see is having a growing economy, because there's a very significant difference. If you listen to the rhetoric coming out of Wellington, everything they're saying is it's about growth, and yet we're saying strong. Well, I just believe we need to be more aspirational upfront, say this is what we want, rather than just being middle of the road, strong. So that's my view on it.
So you would change strong to growing.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? That's in your vote for 1 or 2 on the vision. So anyone else will go? I mean, there were no hands raised for 1. So is there anyone that is really hung up on 1 over 2? I don't believe so. I think that answers that question. Thank you, Karen.
Brilliant, let's move on, thank you. Right, here are your draft priorities. You've seen them, we've discussed them, and they've gone to your direction today. Before we move on, I just want to get a sense check, help us see where we need to focus attention. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not even close, start again, and 10 being, you know what, just with a bit of discussion, and we can actually nail this by lunchtime. I'm going to go around the room, starting with you, Katarina, if I may. On a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with these draft priorities? 1 being needs a whole lot more work, 10 being, yep, we're almost there. I think we can do this.
Well, because I've been here for a few years now, I would presume and like to presume that we are good at this. We've done it so many times, we exactly know where we should be going. We can never, we're way past the 1, but we're not, there's certainly not a key, because every term, things have changed. So I think middle of the road will be always me, because you can't be any less or any better than sitting with this.
With respect to what's on the board there, how comfortable are you that these are put there, that these would take for us getting underway?
Sorry, Karen, yes.
Are you comfortable that this responds to what you expected to see after our workshops?
Comfortable is a good word.
Thank you.
I'll sit with comfortable.
Good. Angela.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that's gone into it so far. Yeah, I think we're pretty close to being there. It's just when the transport gets integrated as we said. And then we've only got all priorities rather than 5. So it's sort of leaning towards the integration.
Right. Thank you. No.
Having not attended either of the workshops, I believe, or certainly not the first one, but I was like to see. I just want to step back for a moment before commenting on the question. Some of us have been working on the future of the delivery of services in relation to drainage, cleaning, and the river management, etc. Some of the vision is that we move to CCO, all those options, all those activities onto a CCO for a limited liability company or something similar. And we are out there testing with the community. It's on the agenda for next week. Lower County Subcommittee workshop after the meeting as to what the community is really asking for, so that we can bring back to council something that could be the basis of our way forward. You know, that's a huge monumental change within, you know, I've been through the document and I can't see anything there that really guarantees a focus on such major issue.
So just picking up on that, Noel, so under our priorities, I would have thought that would have fitted under the first one. So you've got a future fit organisation, and that's building value and thriving through uncertainty, successful transition into a future state.
Yeah.
So with that, not without going down into the weeds, you know, these are an overall statement.
Just on that future fit, actively share our expertise in coordinated building regional catchment system. And then this is what considers the measure. Regional councillors participate in forums and discussions on future religious sort of and governance framework. It says nothing about putting in place an alternative, should that be the desired option for the community. So for me, it's too loose.
May I just offer through you, Chair, there is a governance review statement under resilience, which addresses that. And maybe we actually look at how do you tighten it out to deliver to what you want to say, putting it into that longer, broader discussion that we're having at regional and national scale about reform.
And look, when I went through it, I didn't check anything here that actually covered that, Karen, so if you can.
Didn't jump out to you, no.
No, it didn't.
I think
And so my comments and look, my focus has been with Robbie and others looking at it, and it may come to nothing. The reality is we don't know what we will achieve or what the final situation events will get into the community. So, but I don't want to miss the opportunity because it's not a big.
okay. So we can put this on the board and come back to it. That's one area that
Let us comment on it. So the question I've had is, are you going to set, do you want to set that out now without having actually been discussed a lot through council, the whole concept? There might be a whole bunch of different forms that come out and how we might want to deliver some or all of our services going forward. And there is another space that the government is signalling that discussion needs to be had.
Yeah, and look, we don't want to leave the community with something that members of the community are not happy with. So we're trying to work at the moment. And this is the problem. We're trying to see something in place now, knowing that this is happening. And what I want to make sure of is that the strategic vision allows for that to happen. But I want some more clarity, because if someone comes to me and says, well, it's not in here, so we're not doing it, we're not interested, but I'd be very disappointed.
So if I go back to Warren's comment, I think looking at a future fit organisation, I think it fully ticks it without saying that is the specific measure of an outcome that's going to be, will be measured against. In the building the regional resilience, saying we're going to look at our flood and how we invest in that infrastructure and so on. That would be part of that discussion.
And the greatest measures, because there's nothing there that's sort of.
so we can work on that. We'll come back to that. We're capturing all of this.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and what would be really helpful is if we can think of some very crisp measures that actually deliver to expectations around the table, but also work over that longer term period. That would be really great.
And look, I apologise to the staff of council. We've made you aware that we're talking about things, but we haven't actually brought you something to look at yet. It's close, but we're not trying to hide anything. So, thank you.
Thank you, Noel, and we'll come back to that. Ben,
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, so we've got our priorities, the 5 of them.
draft priority.
We're just talking about that now. We're not going into the actual communication meetings.
Actually,
We're
what
not.
we're doing now is I'm just getting your level of comfort. Again, on 1 to 10, I want to know where we have to focus again. So 1, we need to do a whole lot more work. 10, actually, we're so close. Let's just work on the widgety bits to get this finished. So with what we've given you, with respect to the draft priorities, are you comfortable, or do you want to do a whole lot more?
Personally, I think you just talking about the 5 priorities that are up there. I think you've done a great job. I looked at what this one and this one is much more lightweight than 23, 25. And you focused in well on the fact that we've got change coming, and brought in things like resilience and productivity and prosperity. So I think it's a great job. I would keep transport as part of it. And I think as far as the priorities you've listed there, they're much clearer and more focused than the feedback we got from the community experts. So I would say 10 out of 10 there. I'd like to have a discussion on each of the priorities.
With what we're going to be doing, so thank you.
So can I just clarify, Ben, that keep transport is one of the 5, not integrated up into something else?
It becomes a CCO, it needs to be separate rather than integrated in. If we're looking at those processes.
Yeah, so it's different. Okay. No, that was just that clarity, and we'll talk more to that.
Yeah. Gary,
I agree with Neil and with keeping the transport in there. I think it's a priority. I would call it a 5 is where I feel at the moment I don't want to give a tacit approval to unlimited spending and racing off on things that are not priorities. So my focus is to make sure that we focus on the core business and not go off on tangents.
Yeah.
So that a 5 is where I'm at the moment.
So 7, basically, I think the headlines are great, but the devil will be in the detail, and to use your terminology, Warren, that's when we'll drop down to the swamp if we're not careful, but headlines, Karen, yeah, a solid 7.
keep working and just get into the detail as quickly as possible.
Yep.
So about 7. And I would reserve whether to be transport and sign or not until we've gone into the detail of looking what the measures are. Because if there are lots of measures, and we need to bring them across to the other 4, and it gets messy that way, then I would rather it was contained. Yeah, but yeah, if there's only 3 or 4, then they could easily slot in and we could shorten.
So your priority is about ease of understanding, measurement.
Yeah, my main concern and with, as you know, with the last strategy was that we set out aspirational things and we had different ideas of what that looked like as an outcome. So I really like what you've done with the tables, because if we get that wording right, and this goes for everybody, if we get that wording right, you will be assured that the thing that you want to have looked at will get looked at.
Robbie.
So what was the question? Because I was
I'm not ready. You need to go back to the drawing board, start again. 10, let's get out of here, done by lunchtime, all good.
10, you get chocolate biscuits.
I'll go and get them for you. I'd go most probably a 16, because I don't agree with that sustainable natural resource. I think that's too strong a word, in my opinion. And there's some things in there that our community is it doesn't go into pest weeds or pest animals that they're also there. So if you're out in our community, those things are brought up as priorities all the time, and none of them are in there.
First priority, so we'll go into the detail.
No, but it's not in the sustainable natural resource. Yeah. No,
It's unfair.
yeah, but it's not in there, but all this.
Oh, let's,
So anyway,
I'll pick up on that, we've got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so let's just
looking at it in my lens, that's my issue.
No worries.
And,
And we will.
as transport, as Jean said, I'm not sure if transport should be in it, maybe that decision should be made later.
Thanks.
Okay, so I got the advantage, we always had a little chip in first, so I'll pick up on that. So, look, yeah, it's great. And I'm totally understanding that the detail is what drives it. But there's a couple of things there that I would really like change. So for me, productivity is not fine profitability. And we need to have a real focus on profitability within our region. And that's quite different from productivity. Productivity is churning, profitability is making money. So I'd like to see that change. I would like to expand optimized transport system because I think picking up on what Noel touched on is that we need focus on commercial and good governance on transport, flood protection, and I would chuck in there also the fact that we somewhere along the lines we've taken over the harbour management. So who's best to do that? And to me, it needs to be almost a CCO mechanism with good governance. So I think we need to send the message that we are really driving to make sure that we do best practice business management of our management of assets.
Yeah, look, I was going to go with an 8 out of 10 actually. I've seen a lot of documents like this over the years, and yeah, I'm pretty impressed. Great job. Great job. A couple of key things. Yeah, a couple of small things. Agreed with Keith, just on the profitability, and I wondered whether under productivity and prosperity, so enable and promote a productive and profitable region. Can we add the and profitable in there? I think that would probably fix that priority. Because they are different. Acknowledge that. Transport, if it's not a key priority, it can sometimes get a bit lost. So I like the idea of integrating it, but having it as a key priority means it retains its strength and it retains its real strong focus. So that's probably my preference. The only other comment I wanted to make is just around regional spatial plans, which I think will become quite critical for us this term, working with our partners and our key stakeholders. I probably just couldn't quite see that here.
It's the number one in the productivity priority measure. And it's probably worth on page using it.
That's what I've
done. Like,
I'm pretty yeah, I was going to say that's last on my list because I think it will get covered. But I just wanted to sort of raise it now that spatial plans are going to become really important. I think.
so you'll see that we can do it, and we can certainly work on your page.
Up on the screen, Karen.
Thank you for that. There you go. Yeah, it's the first outcome.
Yeah.
But yes, if we need to think about strength,
So I guess the question is, does it need to come into shaping our council, our region? Does it need to come into the first page? It's just that's just a consideration.
Right, thank you. Chris.
Thanks, Karen. Look, I agree with 7 around time on rating it as a 7. I think it's a clarity vision is much better than we had in the previous training. So thank you for that. My major concern is that we don't get the addressing the future, which is we know is very uncertain, and we've got the responsibility. I see we've got the responsibility of shaping that. And said we've got a future fit organisation. I've just tried to change the. I'd like to change the wording on that because I think what we need to be looking at is future regional structure, the structures, just picking up what Noel and others have mentioned, to serve the local administrative, and I'm not sure that's the right word, needs of the region. because this organisation is going to change whether we like it or not. And I think we need to articulate that in our vision and show that we're on top of that and we want to lead the change and that actually help to shape that reorganisation of the region going forward. Because this thing is more than just the regional council and our existing responsibilities. I see it encompassing the responsibilities in the future of the territorial authorities and neighbourhood level authorities as well. So I personally believe that needs to be in.
So we do cover that very point in the intro, but again, it was not.
As a priority.
Yeah, I agree, Chris.
Would like to make the next region is the rivers and drainage. 7% of the region is drain. Of that 7%, it produces 23% of the region's GDP. So that's why I'm really concerned that we don't lose sight of the river and drainage.
So we're going to go through each of these priorities one by one when you break them down on the next sheets along. Have you got what we're looking at? Yeah, you happy? Okay, no, it's all good. So I'm going to take Chris's 7 and raise it by 1 to an 8. I actually think as priority headlines, they're really good in that space. I would keep transport as one of those as number 5. I think it's important, as has been touched on before, that it's something we've all identified around this table as we really need some oversight and a deep dive into, and for that reason, I think it needs to sit out there on its own, because it's right across the region and it's really important. So that's my comments.
Thank you very much. So, shall we move on then, Brooke? So what I've heard is we've got opportunity to actually do some good work now.
Just didn't take the chance to say what I thought was missing, and I just wanted to share it so that Karen keep it in mind of where it might come up, because I'm not sure which one. One is the community being so disenfranchised, disengaged with local government under future fit organisation. I think it'd be interesting to see if we want to do more in that space. It kind of ties in with the reform of local government, but specifically as an organisation, I've heard lots of times, we do our consultation and we get like 3 responses or 400 when we have 500,000 people. If we want to do more in that space, I think we have to look at that. And the only other thing I didn't see in there more is we talk about resilience and we look at the geopolitical things getting worse. And we know from our SOE, say the environment report, that our environment's degrading. It feels like there are some more categories of resilience that we haven't looked at so much yet. So things like the work we do on circular economy or materials, like have we got all of the real economy materials in our region that we need, and also food from a food security perspective, because we've got water security, energy security, what are the other things that you need to have security in, sort of make sure that we've covered our bases so that we don't get caught out. So just bring that up when it's appropriate.
Thank you. And certainly this future fit organisation should pick up on the opportunity to increase democracy and that having the communities deeply involved. So, yeah.
When it comes to values, and you've just got it down to 3 sentences. In the document you sent us, there's a whole page written out. That's what I objected to. I think it diminishes.
No problem at all. But if
I read it all. It's like
you don't want to have the whole thing, but just for clarity, you're comfortable with them just like that?
As they were previously, yes.
Yes.
They seem to have got expanded.
Oh no, that was the original whole story. So that's good. Thank you. That's very helpful. Right, shall we work through the first 2 of these priorities and then take a break and come back? So this is future fit organisation. This is where I'm really hoping that I can get some very clear direction from you, because this is where we reshape our organisation so that we are efficient, that we are able to respond to what's coming, but also how do we participate with our broader community and the central government to anticipate and deliver to a good opportunity and future like that. So the blurb says what we want to do. We want to be in the best shape possible to live and shift central regional services into whatever future local government structures best serve the needs of white populations. We also need to ensure we are active participants in designing that future. I think that captures what I've heard around the table today. And then the outcomes, the approach, progress measures, and the groups of activities that would be primarily responsible and listed in this table. So this is where I really want to hear from you about the outcome. So our organisation and the region are change ready. It's our change ready. So our approach, and this is what you were saying, no, this doesn't really meet it for you. Actively share our expertise in coordinating and delivering regional and catchment scale solutions and services. So we would do that. Yeah.
Feedback now, Noel, into this space from the opening statement and then our approach statement. Does that pick it up or not?
I don't want to go into details, this is all about. But
No, but is the mechanism in there for what you're proposing or thinking longer term may look like, that whole lift and shift? Does that sort of encompass it or?
no, it doesn't.
Not?
It doesn't lift and shift at all. We share. So, you know, it's fine. It's not recognising that exploring options in you know, supporting changes of identified. You know, but I don't know. I haven't heard about the words.
Oh, so it's, are you saying that you prefer us to say we will pursue?
No, it's a matter of exploring the options. So equally share activities and coordinating and delivering. So share our expertise and coordinate delivering. It doesn't say it's maybe I'm looking too much, but the delivering that was the word delivering encompasses and moving to a different model.
So could we add that on the back? Actively share our expertise in coordinating and delivering regional and catchment scale solutions and services to help work up options for reform.
Something like that.
Okay, so Jen was first, then Ben, then Keith, and then Chris.
In my experience, these are still very high level, and in my experience, Karen knows the actions that fall under these, but we don't always have that come to us very quickly. And I do wonder whether, say, like our council work plan or anything, is there a way that we can be crystal clear what the actions are under a high level statement like that, to give the confidence that the thing that we want is in there? But that's just something to think about going forward. And my last other comment there at the moment would be, I wonder if in our approach, whether it's the rewording sometimes to put the core thing at the front and then how we do it at the end. So just as an example, delivering regional and catchment scale solutions and services differently by actively sharing our expertise. You know what I mean? Like there's just ways we could tweak it if it makes us comfortable, but we could spend a lot of time doing that. And I don't know if it's necessary. If we know what the actions are that fall under the vague blurb, then we're happy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that is about us being involved in shaping the future. But bringing to those conversations the expertise in catchment scale services that only this organisation has. So it is a unique value proposition to bring to the conversations. It's consistent with what you want, but maybe we look to the progress measure, to be more specific.
That's the issue that concerns me, because it's like in the RMA, you've got the objectives, but it's the rules for both. And so I'm looking at the approach, it's the objectives, and the progress measures of the rules, and if it's not on there, then it's not included. So that's what I'm asking. So, thank you.
So, again, it might be that it's not directive enough, but you're looking, regional councillors shape future legislative and governance frameworks.
So maybe we take it offline.
Ben,
So my question was, are there actions that are going to come out to meet the progress measures?
Don't have to be, but right now, as we all know, these conversations have just started about the future of the local government board. And it would be us, preempting the discussions with our other councils to actually say what the actions are. But we do have actions, and that is, we're part of the Mirror Forum conversation. We're actively working with our constituents and stakeholders, iwi, to understand what do they want, what does our community want for the future. So there are actions.
And to clarify, I wasn't wanting to add words with actions. I just want us to understand what the actions are under the approach and progress measure of each line, so that we know our things in there. Not in the document, because that would be preemptive and jump ahead.
Very difficult job I've been doing. Urging my mind. Polls. What I've come up with is something that might be a progress measure, but maybe an action. Work on developing the CCO model to protect and enhance a $1.1 billion flood infrastructure. So that's an action, but should it be a progress? Is what we're saying that we're not being instructive enough in that?
I think you could get that message through, but make it less definitive, because actually it's the options you want.
Well, that's what I'm.
For
Yeah,
the-
well,
Investigate.
it's a CCO that's not,
might not be your point.
it's a matter of having an opportunity to test it.
Excellent. So that was about the government. So let's craft something up and bring it back to the discussion.
Would it be that progress measure? You just add that as an extra one, and because that's one of the things that the regional council itself controls, and it's largely funded by regional ratepayers. So
it can sit as a second measure underneath those first ones.
yes,
You're participating, and then that's
there's
progress. But
a direction in the next 3 years.
let's think about how to calculate so that you're not actually predetermining an outcome,
Yes,
because
yeah.
you have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Warren. For me, it's a pretty good statement, but I do concur with Noel and some of the others in terms of it needs be a little bit more definitive to indicate that we are exploring not more of the same, but other options. So I would like to go where we've got our approach. The second one down includes that where it says shared service, look at alternative structures and alternative governance mechanisms. Because I think there's a place that we need to, which is what Noel's playing and Noel and Robbie are playing with in terms of CCO. There's a governance mechanism which is a hybrid of stakeholders and councillors and maybe commercial people. We need to be open to that.
that is efficient place in it. But yeah, right, thank you.
Yeah, look, my comments are along similar lines, and I just wonder, look, what we say in this speech, whatever future local government structure best serves the needs. Do we need to expand that local government structure? Because what we're talking about here is structures outside of local government. Just to pick up on those points. Does it need to be included in there?
Well, it would be local, or
It's not
government.
It's not a government.
Well, take government out of government,
Structure.
government rather than government.
Yep.
And then the third approach is really about people. And we have a people strategy that can us move with the times.
I think in terms that, sorry, Lauren, I'm just a little bit, there is, you know, if we went through the last election process, there was an angst, probably rather than anger, about the amount of consultants we've used. And I think hidden in there that we need to employ the right people and give them the reins and get the job done. So this culture of using consultants, we've got to squeeze that down and indicate to our population, or you know, our ratepayers, that we believe in ourselves and our own people, and we'll employ the right people.
Jen?
Is there an opportunity here, Karen, for you to reassure me that we might look into lifting engagement with our processes? I was wondering if it comes under the first one, because it is a reform of local government piece, and we said it's internal as well as external. But I just wonder if there's any wording there. I mean, what I see it looking like is exploring best practice democratic engagement methods and seeing if any of them are fit for us as we go into the new model. Do you think that that's covered here? That is something we might do.
I think that would be part of the process as we go through change that would come with the conversation here.
Is it worth adding any wording on participation to lift participation?
Well, I think it's one of the intentions
Yeah.
of the whole form is that we need to get our community actually involved with what we do and what they care about. So
do you see it's like under there? Thank you.
Right.
I think that's touched upon in that progress measures, really, with the forums, discussions, etc. You know, that is stakeholders, communities, that drops into that.
So we just agree.
Yeah.
All right. Are we happy? Yeah, Rob.
That bottom one, I think I don't think we do enough in that space at the moment. Because you're never going to have the perfect people in the organisation. You're always going to have other organisations that want to take your key people. And we're really struggling in this organisation of having really good systems that, not down anyone, but people can make good decisions and processes. And I think we need more emphasis on how to get our people to make really good decisions.
What people you talk inside here? Or?
Yeah, our staff. And then that cuts down on consultants and those other things that were brought up in that discussion. Yeah, and well, that's most probably a better one. And Karen, that's just some stuff that me and Noel have been looking into lately. And I think we could empower our staff to make a lot better decisions if we had better systems in place.
Would it work for you if we were to change that equipment in power?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
Okay.
So do you need to change the word from people to staff? What do you think people covers it?
That's it. What do you think? Well, you're the chair. What do you think?
No, I'm just listening to your point. And
I think people
seem to be clarity.
Yeah.
Karakia.
So a future fit organisation. I think what we are missing is that we have not taken into consideration yet, and what is quoted is where we will be. With the Crown saying what they're saying today, and it's going so fast that how can we possibly think what the future might be for this law group if we're not here? And until everybody's on the same page and we understand whether we are here or not, this is all hypothetical. So in theory, I don't know what's happening to staff. in the government's corridor going forward, the staff is not moving, it's just the elected bodies. So are we trying to say, this is plan A, that we are now trying to do a future proof for our staff to do some work that might happen with us not being here? Or are we just talking a whole lot of talk face, hoping that we do come back? Karen, this is really important for me. I mean, because relationships at the moment between iwi and the Crown around this is out there. I don't see a lot of mainstream out there fighting the fight to keep us there.
So
Honestly. So what do we, I agree that we need to look at plan B in case we are here, but we are not talking about plan A if we're not. So there's two future fits here.
So I see the future, the intention was, we have 3 years. We have had 3 years of you. At least. Right? And so let's actually make these a really good 3 years, and whatever comes next, the stuff that needs to stay will stay, and it will stay wherever. It might stay in the CCO for flood and drainage, or it might go into another council, or it might go to government, central government. But the point is, there will always be services required for this region. So let us spend the next few years doing them really well, so that people actually please done so. And we can continue to do what matters. So this assumes that we have councillors, you, until the election. Now we hear different things, but that's just the way it is. We just have to.
Yeah, Gary Raymond.
Warren, I think it's good, and but I have a problem with how we connect and how we bring it down to the regions, and we have all this expertise and we want to do that and we want a future proof. But there's also a big partnership, and I think it's about culture, and we're not bringing it in here somehow. The culture is, that people will engage with the regional council and your expertise if they think that you're coming to help. And I think when I go out into the field, there's a reluctance to engage with the regional council because I think if I got it wrong, we're going to get fined. And so we need to have a cultural change to actually empower the council to say, we are partnering people, and we're not going to come out there with a big stick, we're here to help. And that's what we're missing. We're missing that engagement, we're missing your expertise, because the people I talk to say, well, I just don't want to engage because I'm scared of what's going to come down the pipeline.
Yeah.
So it's a real shift, and we need to get that message out there. We're here to help, not that I'm following you. Part of our budget is what, $500,000 of fines in there. It's just the wrong message.
Yeah, totally agree.
A place to put that, Karen, in your expertise.
Well, it was part of our conversation about the overarching approach being enabling and understanding stakeholders' needs and responding and providing appropriate data so that people can engage. And I just note too that the catchment services and the biodiversity and biosecurity services and a whole lot of services are actually actively sought. And people are always inviting regional council meetings. So there will be times when people might feel uncomfortable, but I don't think it's a blanket approach. And certainly we are mindful when we hear about things that haven't gone so well.
That's a culture issue. I agree.
Gary McGuire.
I think that it needs to have injected in there 2 words, trust and integrity. And when I read that first bit there, our organisation, the region, there's changed already. I don't believe that, because the submissions that we've gone through.
That's an outcome, though, you realise.
Okay,
Yeah.
but to put in those 2 words, trust and integrity, I think that the reason that we're being put in this position now is because trust and integrity has been lost. And it needs to you can't demand that, it's got to be earned. So it needs to be injected in there as an aim is to regain that trust and integrity.
It'd be a separate progress measure, potentially.
Yeah, and we do measure.
Objective measure.
No, fine.
Okay, I've got to speak order, thanks. Ben?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
One of the things that I was talking about the possible CCO for blood infection control is something we could do within a year or 3 years. So we can move forward on things even when we may be gone to June 2027. So that was part of the work program we're looking at. And also that this will set a theme for the mayors who take over. The mayors and the commissioner, whoever takes over, people want to know what the progress is. They might turn it all upside down. But particularly if you're looking at dollars an asset to use, but I mean, we need to do something now. So that's what this is.
And I understand it, I totally do, but you just finished saying the media might turn it all over. So Chris has got a big habit of saying, don't spend money here, there, and whatever. You usually pay us money for this one, whatever. And the Crown's decision about moving elected members of regional councils is the spend. You know, so, I'm just being really, really upfront about if you are deciding to determine a future for people who are not here, you need to be really on path and you need to understand where this goes when we're not. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
And that's why I was saying, I think Karen's done a good job.
Oh, that's good,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's.
Karen always does a good job.
That's everyone, so I get both sides of the coin.
That's.
Yeah.
Let's keep checking in on it. It's, yeah, true.
No,
I just want to take Gary, council may have an issue with what some members of the community perceive the regional council does and the culture of the organisation. Having been an ex-policeman and court official, my life's been about enforcement times, and some of the horrific things that Robbie and I have been asked to, or been brought into the picture, where our staff have been out on farms, on other properties that have caused incredible pollution. In just about every case, there has been prior warnings, requests. I'm a nice guy, and sometimes you need to put the boot on because enough's enough. And the reality is, when it is on the first occasion, it is generally such an horrific abuse of the environment that it deserves a prosecution the first time up. But in most of the cases that I have seen and been asked to comment on, or given feedback, we have had the nice guys for so long, several years in fact, in many of the cases. So I know there have been instances where on the face of it, people do accuse the council of being jackbooted and all sorts of things like that. The reality is, if you're abusing the environment, you should be dealt with. And when we talked about the rural was the targeted rate, what's about $400 a year now for rural property over 20 hectares. We were told that that was to deal with the 400 mainly dairy farmers that were the problematic child. The rest of us, the farmers, the growers, etc., were not the issue. So, let's step back and have a really good look and say, is the culture right, or are we, this organisation, actually doing the right thing? And in times, are we too generous? So, just playing devil's advocate here, it's not a one-sided thing. Thank you.
Chris.
Look, I'd just like to go back to the point that Ron has raised, which is it's relevant, and whether it's a strategic discussion or not, it's on the table. The reason that the reorganisation, my understanding is the reason that the government is taking these steps is to rein in the spending for the ratepayers throughout New Zealand. We know that rates are contributing significantly to the level of inflation. This is the government's way of trying to address that. They have to start somewhere, Karakia, and I don't have any problems with them suggesting regional councils because we do cover the whole region. We do have a lot of knowledge of what goes on in the region. Therefore, to me, it makes sense that they should be taking us. And it's up to us. We can set our own destiny. We can live to the ears if we want to, or we can be proactive and get on the front foot and do it efficiently, properly, which I think we should be doing. But that's just my viewpoint. But the government is not pointing the gun at regional councils as such. They recognise the need for regional councils, but take it from me, we've given them a pretty hard time about some of the things they've imposed on the regional council without good cause and effect. So I think it's part of their way of fighting back, but there's a very clear message. We need to get the level of rates in the region lowered, and soon to be.
Right, we'll move on with the strategic direction.
Thank you, Warren. Put the next slide up. I hope that we can get through this one a bit more quickly, because I think the latter half of this session might take a bit more time. So, picking up on the point about profitability, enable and promote a productive and profitable region that delivers shared prosperity. Make that change very quickly and easily.
Just very briefly, can you explain the joint regional social planning committee when it gets set up?
Can I ask Tracy to talk to this?
So at the moment, the legislation is quite, proposed legislation determine which the regional spatial planning committee is. At the moment, it's the CTB. Yeah, just on that, Karen, there have been quite a number of submissions around, is that jumping the gun at all, but without CTBs actually banding.
So we can't indicate whether we are lead, whether we are participants, whether we are facilitators at this stage. We are simply at the stage until further determination. But we must be there because of the data and the information, and also, as Kristen said, we are the region. That you.
Karen, I think we can say that spatial planning outside of the recent legislation direction has been on the Mural Forum's agenda as a priority for some time. It's just they got sidetracked on other stuff like wanting to teach and whatever. And they have looked to us to provide some progress and leadership in that area, and they will continue to do so because at scale we can think and do it.
And remember, in our last LHD council provisioned $900,000 for regional spatial planning. We've done the first two phases, which was the inventory, the spatial planning preparedness. We held there, waiting for the legislation. We've got that. In anticipation, we paused any further investment until we understood what the legislation looks like. We should have more clarity on that in June, but our territorial authorities have been along with us every step of the way.
Thanks, Tracy. Jen.
Kind of time bound nature to these progress measures. So I'm just thinking that, you have a mural forum / CTB and you send them an email with all the data, job done, or do we foresee that the spatial plan will be done in these 2 years, or? We obviously leave that to KPIs, but
So
what's the due date?
in strategy and policy next week, we will show you the diagram and the map of how it all puts together. There are requirements to have the spatial plan done within 15 months of enactment, and then further 9 months for the natural environment. Again, they are proposed. There've been quite a number of submissions to that. Because while we're forming the governance entity, Regional Spatial Plan Committee, there will be people who need to understand regional issues even before we start.
That's an easy to achieve one because of so much uncertainty. Yeah. Okay.
But within the time.
So noting Karen's change around the profitability to prosperity terminology, is there anything else for anyone on this one?
Yeah.
Keith.
Warren, mine's more of a question, Karen, is that, I'm just looking at our approach, and whether it's in the spatial plan, I don't know. But I'm really concerned that we have an underbelly within our region, and that goes from Tīkawiti Oklahoma through to Otaru, Tokoroa. And much of what the work we do ignores them. And their opportunity for economic development and support, I think it's getting neglected or has been neglected. And so I'm just asking the question, how do we make sure that they don't feel like the runt in the litter?
I don't believe they do feel like the runt in the litter because they're certainly never neglected. And I do know that the regional council advocates really strongly for all parts of our region. And that is something that comes through at every conversation. So maybe that's an opportunity for another discussion. They have information that we need.
That's potentially a legacy issue from a previous economic development agency. Yeah.
I was just going to say, but the opportunity to ensure the whole region is treated equally and can share in whatever is through the spatial plan and is through the regional economic development strategy, which probably going to some purview over. And so I think that's the opportunity to ensure that anyone had this sentiment that doesn't do it. Yeah, that's great.
And certainly that's the intention of putting on there and part at the top about spreading it on even.
Yeah. Is that a toilet break, Jen, or another question?
Oh.
It's just, we talked about technology quite a lot and the opportunities and pressures reported. And I was just wondering whether that's more of a how we do things and captured somewhere else, because I think technology and AI or anything that we're exploring in here.
So that would be part of the picture that comes through I think it was the second measure about our corporate plan and the benefits measures, but also like an overarching statement about the importance of good data. That inform all of these priorities.
Thanks. It's just trying to figure out where things like.
So if we move on. This is the economic development strategy. And there are two measures here. It's about the delivery of the economic development strategy. The level of adoption across the region by all the wealth creators and enablers, and then also about the regular provision of information and insights. Those are very clear measures. And if we scroll down to it's the energy strategy. And again, it's about functioning forum, relying on others to pick up on the opportunities identified through the strategy, and the energy objectives, land use consideration, infrastructure integrated into the spatial.
Karen, you just really quickly want to outline to councillors that haven't been here previously where we're at with that energy strategy? Is that finally just?
Yeah, for the draft coming to the March meeting, Tracy, Bill on
a workshop. Prior to it coming to the meetings, we've got the in March workshops and April workshops for the energy strategy and water security strategy and biodiversity strategy. Prior to them coming to strategy and policy through April and May, they are each of those three CE categories.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Thank you. Oh, no.
Yeah, the first bit, and really sometimes I ignore this first one, it really gets down to the nuts and bolts out on the other side, but a shared direction. So is share, what does sharing mean? Do we create it, we share it, and that's fine, or is it an agreed direction for the regional economy, agreed with who? Further decision making, and then suggests to me that we don't make good decisions now, allocation of resources. I don't know if you're hiding from me or what, but the reality is, words, it's just, they become meaningless, and I'm not trying to be.
No. We can change that very quickly to an agreed direction for the regional economy. And that would enable better decision making and efficient allocation. That's the intent. An agreed direction that actually integrates those decisions and allocation.
So not agreed with who?
Yeah, so shared direction.
It's agreed.
Yeah, it's not.
It's agreed by stakeholders. And that's a conversation we're going to have this afternoon.
And then the stakeholder, is that every man on the street or is it?
No, it's the wealth creators.
And better decision making?
Well, when you have a
I wondered about that
redirection.
word. That was just the inferences, we don't give good decision making now.
So you mean, so you're intending there to enable better
To enable,
decision making,
yeah.
that what that's against, suggesting.
Yeah, it's for that place.
We can correct that.
Oh, no, it's, no, yeah. So it's-
No,
it's
would
the
matter.
opposite.
It's matter.
On the strategy then.
Keith?
Yeah, I'm probably totally out of order here, but I've had this question in my mind for a while about our energy strategy. I actually wonder how much of that money that's spent there actually lands in our region, and what the financial benefit is to us first.
So that's probably a question for the workshop that will all be covered. And our energy across this region is massive over every single type of energy production. So that's better left for that workshop. Chris?
No, it's all right. I'm just thinking about something else said.
Oh, okay.
If I can suggest, don't go on it. Mental health is important.
I've come to, look, we've got, I just wonder whether we need to pass, because we're going to set up under Keith's committee, a subgroup of these business people, and we're going to be seeking their input to assist us making the right sort of decisions. Review, I don't know where it's going to go, but it was my guess that we should put this group there and bring these people in so that they can collaborate with us. I would like to see them have some independence.
Just go back.
And then there's the.
Is it the point?
Because
This is just creating a space for them to
How many slides big?
sit back one.
Yeah, it falls under that.
That level of adoption.
And the information and insight to provide it to.
they are the key stakeholders. They're the ones that are going to be driving this thing.
So if that's enough,
I think Jen had one in the last.
My question from before of that food security and that circular economy work, where does that fall under the strategy?
under the development.
Economic development, right? Yeah.
Thank you. So that's two priorities done. People, through you, Chair, feel comfortable.
The people want a break, we don't try and knock another one over.
No one get known more educated.
This is where we're going to have a conversation, this one and the other two.
Okay, let's break now. Please keep it to 10 minutes, because we do have a couple of councillors that do have hard stops, 12 to 12:30, so we'd like them at the table for as long as possible for their discussions. Back in 10, thank you.